Yeah.
And I do want to talk about this Eagles situation because there was a report that dropped on ESPN. ESPN dropped a big old fat bomb for us, to give us some insight on the possible, or alleged or reported drama within the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, which is very interesting because after reading all this, you start to question, you know, hey, was it Patulo's fault?
Mm.
I don't know. Because we've spent a lot of this season, a lot of this offseason harping on, Philly's struggles on the offense side of the ball, blaming the OC, you
Yeah.
being like, Kevin Patulo's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, just straight, it's just period. That's just how you feel about him.
Yep.
But then what I read about this, I was reading this, and there's been some reports of, reportedly, apparently Jalen Hurts has some rigid uh, preferences,
Preferences.
inhibiting evolution of the Philadelphia Eagles offense. And,
Who
what
said
they,
that? The Philadelphia Banner?
I don't know. Hey, the
Some
Philadelphia,
jackass.
look, say all you want about whatever banner. This the same banner that also got Justin Tucker in the unemployment line. So I
You're right.
mean, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. Who knows? But
You're right.
so rigid preferences that are inhibiting the evolution of Philly's offense, and that includes things like what it say, Patulo. Where are we at? Okay, so Jalen Hurts, he does not like to play under center. He doesn't want to play under center. He doesn't want to turn his back to a defense. There were shifts in motions that Patulo wanted to implement that either Jalen Hurts was like, I don't want to do that, or would abandon them a lot of the
Mm.
times, like where it'd be like, hey, we're supposed to motion here, we're supposed to shift here. Come game time, he didn't want to call it, or he'd
Yeah.
abandon the play call, or it says he would abandon play calls or change play calls to an excessive degree.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, this does come after one of their worst seasons. And then you look at this season alone, and you might go like, okay, maybe Jalen Hurts disagree with Kevin Patullo a lot, and maybe he didn't like the certain shifts and motions he had, or whatever he tried to implement to the offense. But there's two other things you got to look at. Apparently, from this report, and you got to take, obviously we're taking this with a grain of salt, but it's something to think about when you add in these three things. You add in the Jalen Hurts preferences, and this next thing, which is he also had a tense relationship with Kellen Moore,
Okay.
and
They
what
won
I
a
got
Super Bowl that
from.
year, though.
Okay, no, okay, here. So this is what I got wrong. So Kellen Moore is the one that had a lot of motions and shifts that were abandoned often by Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
And you're right, they won a Super Bowl from that tense
Now,
relationship.
I don't want to cut you off, but I
Oh, you're
think
no,
what
you're
we're
good.
forgetting, I'm not sure how much Jalen Hurts impacts what Saquon was able to do on the field.
Mhm.
And I think more than anything that Jalen could impact on the field, I think Saquon was the biggest impact 2 years ago and was not an impact this year, anywhere near what he was 2 years ago. And that showed. Like, Jalen Hurts' production didn't die that hard. I mean, it wasn't great compared to the year before, but they were running off of what Saquon was doing. Like,
I
I'm not
mean,
sure how much the passing game or how much worse the passing game got. We saw how bad the rushing game got.
if you just looked at Jalen Hurts' numbers, I don't know. It'd be hard to. You look at Jalen Hurts' numbers, and you look at the amount of wins Philly had. It's a weird. It is a weird equation, but at the end of the day, you got Jalen Hurts, who is abandoning a lot of play calls. He's abandoning a lot of shifts and motions. He pushes back on a lot of things that OCs try to implement. And I mean, I read things as far as like they people are saying he is just hard to coach. Period. He has poor body language and all this other shit. And I'm like, because here's the thing though. at the end of the day, and people
This
got to
seems
just
like
understand.
a smear campaign right now.
I mean, this is ESPN. This is what I mean, I don't. The thing is, like, how much do you got to trust that source?
Do you?
You have to.
I mean, I guess,
You
but
gotta you gotta trust that
unless
source.
it's Sal Palantonio, I don't listen to nobody. As a joke, but Jalen Hurts still has a job.
Uh huh.
Nick Sirianni still has a job.
Right.
So clearly, the Eagles don't give a fuck.
Well, I also saw that Jalen Hurts said that he was interested in whoever coming in and was open to whatever changes or things that they wanted to implement. So I think obviously there is some type of maybe self realization that he could be a little more open to things.
I don't know if. I mean, I get that maybe he had or changed plays at the line or did this and did that, but when we looked at him 2 years ago, he wasn't a detriment to that team.
Jalen Hurts?
No.
Kellen
Again,
Moore.
he wasn't the factor. He wasn't the team MVP, but he wasn't detrimental at all. They won 14 games or 15 games, whatever the fuck it was. Maybe 13 that year. But it seems like the opposite of Jalen Hurts' character. Maybe I'm wrong, but the body language thing I don't get. I think he seems like a leader.
Sure, maybe. He could be a leader, but I don't know. But I think people need to just accept that, like, players can be temperamental. Players can have bad moments, and players can have poor body language, and players, like, you got to look at Jalen Hurts as somebody who, when he even came into Philly as their next guy, there were a lot of question marks around Jalen Hurts
Of course.
as a starter in the NFL, and he's been surrounded by a lot of veterans, and up until last year, you got people like Jason Kelsey who were in the locker room leading that team. It's like, how much of a leader do you really have to be? And you might have to look at last year as, who knows if Jalen Hurts had to take on more of a leadership role, and that put more pressure on him. Because I mean, if you're the captain, if you're out there, you are the leader, you are the one out there motivating everybody. I mean, if things aren't going your way, or if you aren't performing to your expectations, or as well as you think you should be, yeah, I can see it being hard to lift up like 52 other guys.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, they haven't had Kelsey for 2 years now. This is the third year without him. I'm not sure I would. He was not the center for the Super Bowl run.
You're smoking.
I'm not.
You've got to be smoking.
He left the year before. He retired the year before. And that's
Jason Kelsey.
God. Jason Kelsey is a one-time Super Bowl champion.
Jason Kelsey retired right before they won a fucking Super Bowl?
Yes, sir.
What an idiot.
No.
Yeah.
He's getting paid way more than he ever could.
I don't care what he's getting paid. He could literally be a two-time Super Bowl champion.
He's a one-time Super Bowl champion.
I'm saying he could easily be a two-time Super Bowl champion.
Agreed.
Like, easily.
Like the podcast where he was like, now that ball gets to me quick. Jason Kelsey snapped that ball quick.
Wow.
I gotta be ready.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Either way.
That was 3 years ago.
But what this makes me look at is, it does explain. I think it does explain something. It does explain kind of AJ Brown's frustration. Like, if you look at AJ Brown, right? Okay, AJ Brown was the same frustrated wide receiver under Kellen Moore's offense as he was under Patullo's offense.
Yeah, no. Well, I think he's just a frustrated receiver.
Sure.
Like, again, he's still there. If it's an issue with Jalen Hurts, cool. I mean, we know Jalen Hurts is good. We don't put him up there too highly. We don't talk about him as a top quarterback in
That's the
in
thing,
terms
though.
of
Like,
just passing, but
he's fringe top 10.
sure. I don't think we can get into the mind of AJ Brown and say that there's a reason for his madness. And pin it on Jalen Hurts. Maybe we can, but I'm not sure this is the time for us to start questioning Jalen Hurts' leadership ability and his ability to run a football team. I mean, he is good enough to where if you get that run game going, if Saquon puts up more than whatever the fuck he put up last year, which was a dog shit, I think that team's still good. The defense was still good. They were in a lot of games. They were close. They weren't getting blown out. Like, and then AJ Brown is just the factor where he's acting like a diva.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, you look at AJ, two things. First of all, if they go through a third OC in 3 years and things don't work well in their offense, it's like, all right, we're gonna have to question something. But AJ Brown, he was quoted on pushing for the offense to adapt. He said, we can't keep slapping a Band-Aid over the defense doing their job and getting us out of trouble. So obviously
Okay.
AJ Brown, but when you got AJ Brown going, we need to adapt, and you got reports coming out saying Jalen Hurts refusing to adapt, it's kind of you're just gonna raise some type of red flag. It's got to be at least be orange. Maybe it's
Sure.
an orange flag, but that bitch is turning red. It's got to be.
Sure.
Especially they bring in Sean Manion. He's 33 years old. He's never called plays for a team before. So,
And
yeah.
Sirianni's not about to call plays. That's for damn fucking sure.
And Jalen Hurts, his rushing has decreased. His passing is... His arm isn't the greatest. I mean, I don't want to shit on it, but it's not like... I don't know. It's not... He's
not throwing 50-yard bombs.
No, he's not throwing 30-yard bombs.
Agreed.
I'm sorry. He's not. And he won't adapt. So, I'd be worried. I'd be a little worried.
All right. Maybe Hurts does have an issue with adapting, but I still think we can pin last year or more of it on Patullo. Only because they could not get a run game going.
I hope so. I hope that's the argument they can make, because I don't know what else. I don't know what else they would I don't know what else they I don't know what else they blame it on besides maybe our quarterback ain't good enough, because that's the next step when it comes to blaming NFL offenses. It's like, hey, either the OC sucks or the quarterback can't get it done.
Their quarterback isn't the best in the world, but they got a good fucking team.
They do.
And an OC should be able to make all of that work. You got two good receivers, you got the best running back in the league, and a quarterback who can make it work. Make it work.
Make it work.
Kellen Moore made it work. Gives a fuck. Like, this report if this report came out after the Super Bowl, we'd throw it away. We wouldn't even look at it.
Sure.
Last year.
That's a great
who gives
point.
a shit that he doesn't call a fucking play here or there? Fuck that.
And now,
great point. What are we, Kevin Patullo's ass? Fuck that guy.
Because
standing on it.
Kevin Patullo has a playbook of unrighteousness.
Whatever that means. Yes.
I don't know.
Fuck that.
But all right. Here, I'll ask you this question.